Hello, everyone. Welcome to 2026 and a new year of Practical Pet Chat. Lauren, it's good to see you. Good to have a chat with you. I know you and I have been reflecting while we've had a little bit of time off, enjoying the holidays. We've got some exciting things we're going to do in 26. But before we get to that, how were your holidays? How's everybody doing?
Holidays were great. They went quickly, and that's both good and bad. Um, I love a new year. I always love a new year because I always love to close a chapter and start a new one.
Love it.
So it's always exciting to see what the new year is going to bring. It's like turning a page, you get a fresh start. So it's just something it's always been special to me. So I'm always happy. I always stay up. I always have to wake everybody else up, when it's midnight, including the dogs who are like, what's going on? Give kisses and hugs and all that. And then everybody looks around and says, okay, are we done? Can we go back to sleep? And they crash
Wow.
out and I watch the ball drop and all that kind of stuff because
See,
I'm
I'm
excited
I'm
about the new
listening
year.
with Bell to all the guns being fired off and all
Oh,
this.
well,
And you live in the Wild West, and I live in the
we had
California
that.
West.
Yeah, we had
Um,
that. We had those guns and things like that, but I desensitized my animals to all of that, and so they could sleep through anything now.
that's fine. And that's a good point too, because I- the interest level from Bella was not as high because we have Disneyland not far from us, so we have
Mm,
fireworks quite
hmm.
often. And to your point, I desensitized her very early when we got her, and she'll sit out there and watch the fireworks with me.
Yeah.
We can see them from our backyard, and so that's not so much. But I will tell you, there were some interesting sounds and explosions at midnight, and I really had a good time with the family. My daughters are older now, and so they've got so many of their own things that they're into and events to go to and all that. I enjoyed the holidays, but I really enjoyed when it was like, ooh, the four of us plus Belle are together. Let's really, I better,
Feeling left
you know,
behind, Dad?
I'm feeling older. And I have to say, I mean, I love that Christmas holiday season. One of my favorite things too, Bella has always had this deep fascination and comfort of sleeping under the Christmas tree. It's just something she could do for hours. And I know some of the folks out there going, well, duh, she's a dog. But no, it's literally, for whatever reason, it's the Christmas tree. She loves the lights. She loves the warmth of it. We go hog wild decorate. We decorate the entire house, outside, inside. And so there are all these marionettes and things moving and all that.
Oh
And
my
it doesn't
gosh.
phase her whatsoever. Yeah, it can be a little, creepy, I
You're
guess.
one of those
I'm one of
people.
those people. My big exciting addition this year, we add something every year, was this like old 1970s telco Santa who's doing the little hammering in the toy shop thing. And I was like, well, this will be interesting to see what Belle thinks of it. She just laid right there and just had no problem. And it had the light, it had little sounds. I was like, oh, that's going to drive her nuts because you would hear the occasional knock, knock, knock of the hammer, but sounds like the door, which I thought,
Hmm.
oh, that's going to drive her nuts. Yeah, that she just loved it. So I enjoyed the holidays. I did miss doing these, but it did give me a lot of time to reflect, a lot of time to talk and hear from folks. Thank you to all of you out there who have shared your opinions. You've helped shape this upcoming year.
Oh
And
my gosh, truly.
yeah, it is. It's going to be a different year, and it's interesting. I also went back and did that reflection you and I talked about for the podcast. Went back and listened to a number of them, and let me just say, everybody,
They're cringeworthy.
um, you never want to have to do that, but you got to reflect to move forward. I do love your notion of let's close the page on a good note and get going for the new year, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So I'll kick it to you. I will be a proper gentleman and let you share a few of the things that you and I have talked about that we have decided to maybe adjust
Yeah.
for the new year.
Yeah, super exciting. So, a couple of things. we found out that, with the two podcasts, the Practical Pet Chat for pet parents, and the Practical Pet Business for industry people, that people were listening to both. And we actually didn't know that that was going to happen. We figured pet parents would stick to theirs, pet
Right.
business people would stick to theirs, and it was pretty illuminating to find out a lot of the feedback that both of us had. I know that I asked some of the people who listened, who were not industry people, why they listened to the business, and they said that they found that it was interesting. They a lot of things they didn't know, and they felt there was a level of transparency
Yeah.
to maybe something that they didn't understand.
Yeah.
And that was cool. I thought that was really
Well,
cool.
I got that same feedback, and I got it both ways too, which was interesting because those that were in the industry were telling me, you know, it made me look at how I was viewing things differently, and I would tell them it's funny because the pet parents are telling me the same thing.
Hmm.
And maybe that's what we just need more of, which is why, of course, you and I talked, and we're gonna, for all of you, because we did also hear there's a lot of different places to find you. There's like, wait, did I listen to this episode? Did I miss that episode? So we're gonna put it all in one episode this upcoming year, so that you don't have to search around for two different podcasts being released on
Right.
different days and all the rest of that. And then also too, I think it brings together all of us in this space, and we can talk with maybe our second big announcement about everything instead of trying to
Right.
keep to one specific talk track.
Well, there's actually three big announcements because that's one. The second one would be um, when people were trying to keep track of which episode they did or didn't listen to, there was just too many of them. So now there's only
Yes.
one drop a week instead of
Yes.
two, which is great for us because it was getting a little hairy there and trying to juggle schedules and everything. But the really big announcement is that we're going to have guests this year.
Yes.
And
Very
we'll
excited
have,
about
yeah, very excited. A lot of really cool guests from a lot of different areas for both pet parents and the pet business side of it. And a variety of discussions and topics, and we're excited about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something you and I had been kicking around. And as we went through and did our review and we looked at, well, what do we want to introduce and when do we want to introduce it? It really made a lot of sense to do that here in 2026. And I think by bringing both of the elements together, it also kind of unlocked the ability to say to someone that's going to spend the time with us, it doesn't have to be aimed at any particular topic, any particular space. We can literally, which is the reason we do this, is just have conversations. And
Right.
wherever the conversations take us, great. And we'll make it work. Don't worry, we're not, shifting into 10-hour episodes or anything like that.
No.
We're going to really still try and keep them short, compact. We may spread some out over multiple releases. Um,
Hmm.
but we're excited about it because it does give us that flexibility to bring in outside voices, hear from folks that have a different perspective, have a different experience, and hopefully continue to elevate what we're trying to do here.
And that's part of the feedback that we got, right? Because we played around. You don't know what people want until you try a number of different things. And so, some of our podcasts were long, some of them were super short, and then there were things in the middle. And so we're somewhere in the roughly 15 to 25-minute mark.
Yeah.
So realistically 15 to 20 minutes. You'll notice on our backgrounds that we now have our email right up there so that you can see it and you can make note of it and you don't have to hear the long drawn out, reach out to us with
Yeah.
practicalpetchat@gmail.com. And
Although
that's
one
right
thing that's
there.
not going to change is you're still reading the emails, and I'm
Yes,
pleased.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
that's fine. We'll stick to that. But it, at least, we're trying to trim this and we're trying to get where, let's face it, people want information. but they want it in snippets. They want
Yeah.
it in short bursts. They want to be able to get what they need, say, oh, that was interesting, and move on to something else.
Yeah.
They don't want to have to come back and listen to it. They don't want to have to save it and, marker it or anything like that. So I think, like you, this is going to be a much more consumable type of informative channel that we'll put
Yeah.
together than what we've been playing with. And for those of you who have stuck it out with us while we've been all over the map, we appreciate that. Thank you. But hopefully this is something that's more digestible going forward.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing that feedback wise I got to was people loved the perspective that we were giving, both as pet parents and as folks deep inside the industry. But sometimes because we had focused it so independently, we didn't react in both ways unless we
Hmm.
did a similar topic. And they really, the feedback that we got was just, gosh, would have loved to hear you do that counterpoint, and the interaction would have been so
Right.
interesting. Of, look, as a business person, this makes absolute sense. But as a pet parent, this frustrates the hell out of me, you
Hmm.
know, because that was that other interesting feedback on both sides getting. It's like, oh, I see their point. We got a lot of, I'm seeing the other side's point of view.
Hmm.
Love to really be bringing it all together, because at the end of the day, we're all doing this because we do love these incredible beings and we want better results. To that end, we also need it in shorter time frames. Time is
Right.
the one thing that we do not have a lot of, period. And I want to share the one laughable one was when I was asking, hey, which did you prefer, the long, the short, the medium, etc. I heard a lot of, I usually listen when I'm walking, my pet, or I'm doing something specific pet related. And I said, well, my typical dog walks are probably a lot longer than yours. So how long are yours? And we're going to go with your alls, not with my walks, because those would be a lot longer than I think any of us want, especially me who has to edit these. So that being said, too, um, I did love how many times last year something was sparked and generated by the audience. We're not moving away from that. Please, if you've got a topic, whatever the topic is, let us know. We're building that topic list out, not just for ourselves, but again, for our guests. And I think that's going to be something that's really interesting to get some of their feedbacks, because I know too, it's a lot easier to find a common point, and
Hmm.
okay, yeah, here's the pathway that we can both walk on. You start to add a third and a fourth person into some of these conversations, and I think we're going to find ourselves maybe diverging a little bit more than we have in the past as well. And I think that's going to be fun, uh, not only to listen to, but to participate in.
Well, and I think if people give us their topics, it might generate the ability on our end to pick a speaker, a
Yes,
participant, an interviewee that we can bring into that to discuss that topic,
yeah.
right? Because, as much as we are friends and that kind of stuff, even we're getting sick of listening to each other. So it's nice to bring someone
I'm
else
just
into the
happy that
mix.
we're still friends. I mean, that's, woo, we can close out 26 now. I'm going to take that as the win for the year. No, so many great things. Can't wait to share them all with all of you. Thank you for sticking with us, as Lauren said, but we're going to reward that here in 26 with a lot of new, exciting things. So, on that, thank you. Can't wait to, embrace and run through 26 with you, because I know it's going to fly just like the last few years
Oh
have.
gosh, yeah, for sure.
All right, folks. Hey, thank you for joining us here on Practical Pet Chat.
Thanks, guys.
The content of this podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as, nor should it be construed as, professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment for your pets. Always seek the advice of a qualified veterinarian with any questions you may have regarding your pet's health or medical condition. Never disregard professional veterinary advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. The hosts and the guests of this podcast are not liable for any actions taken based on the information shared during these episodes. Any reliance on the information provided is solely at your own risk. Copyright 2026 Practical Pet Chat. All rights reserved.
Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or reproduction of any content from this podcast, including but not limited to audio, scripts, and show notes, is prohibited without prior written consent. The opinions and views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Practical Pet Chat.